Yes. They covered the major stories of 2008, of course, the election and the war. But we're going to listen to a piece right now about the economic crisis.
Glenn Beard's beef brisket may still fill stomachs, but it's not filling seats anymore at his Elkhart, Indiana restaurant.
As soon as the banking bailout crisis happened, it was a free fall.
He's already laid off 12 people from the restaurant and catering company he's run for 14 years. But still, he's losing as much as $4,000 a week.
We're going to have to more or less shut down.
The unemployment rate here has almost doubled in a year to more than 10%.
Anything for you to drink?
At this point, waitress Jennifer Rambo feels lucky to make $200 a week.
When I first started, the average tip was about $5. Now it's about $2 or $3.
Accepting for CBS Radio News is Charlie Kay, executive producer of CBS Radio News, who will say a few words.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Russ. I won't keep it too long. Like most of the people in this room, I want to get home for Leno. I have a speech that entails taking the paper out of my pocket, putting on my glasses. I don't need the glasses to see. I just like to look erudite. We have been in the radio news business a long time. Our very first story was Hitler's annexation of Austria in 1938. I did not personally work on that story, but some very talented people did. I was only a DA at the time. It is the story that invented broadcast journalism. Everyone in this room owes a debt of obligation to Edward R. Murrow, this young man who was hired by CBS in the 1930s to go to Europe and find interesting people to talk on the radio. He was not supposed to go on the radio himself. But he got over there and he saw Hitler and he saw what was going on, and he tried to convince his bosses in New York that this was really important and there should be news on the radio. And William S. Paley, the founder of this struggling little radio network, CBS, said, I don't want news. I don't want news on the radio. It's not worth it. Radio was a young medium. No one was quite sure how to regulate it. Congress didn't know what to do with it. Mr. Paley had some problems with the President of the United States. It just wasn't worth it to get into news. But Murrow kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and then eventually on this one day when Hitler arrives in Austria, he convinces New York we have to do a roundup of the day's developments in Europe, these tremendous events, these monumental events in Europe. They grab a guy standing in the hallway, Robert Trout, an announcer. They sit him in a room. They start going through all sorts of technical machinations involving shortwave radio. They finally get a broadcast together. They called it a roundup of European developments. It worked extremely well. People were happy with it. It's still on the air to this day. It's the CBS World News Roundup. And if I do say so myself, it's pretty good radio. If you haven't heard it, it's on at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific, 5 mornings a week. It's awfully good radio. I am sometimes asked what Murrow might think of CBS Radio News now, 2009, all these years later. I suspect he would be very proud of what we do. It is always a delicate balance between what people want to know and what people need to know. You have to hook them, you got to get them, but you have to give them the important stuff as well as some of the lighter stuff. And you have to do it in a responsible fashion. And we try to do that every single day. Some days we are more successful than others, but we are always trying. I think Murrow would be fascinated by the technology we have today. I had a chance to work with some of the Murrow boys, the original CBS News correspondents, who he hired to cover the Second World War in Europe, and they told stories of wire recorders and tape all over the floor, and trying to convince national broadcasters to allow them to use shortwave to get stories back to New York. And today, all you really need is a cell phone hooked up to a little box that gives you studio quality audio, or now you can use an iPhone with a broadcast quality microphone, and you record right on this device, and you press another button, you edit it, you send it as email back to New York, it's on the air 2 minutes later. It's an incredible world, and I think you would have been fascinated by that. I also want to make mention of the fact that newscasts just don't get on the radio. It is a team effort, and lots of folks contribute to making each and every one of our broadcasts possible. Desk assistants and news writers and editors and producers and very talented anchors and other support personnel, technicians who are terrific, and also managers with backbone, people such as my bosses, Harvey Nagler and Constance Lloyd, who are always there for us, fighting the good battle, winning 99% of the time. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the fact that sometimes this pursuit of the news takes unusual and unexpected turns. And one of my friends and one of the most courageous people I know and one of the best journalists I know is named Cammie McCormick, and she cannot be here tonight because she is in the Walter Reed Army Medical Center recuperating from wounds sustained when her vehicle was hit by an improvised explosive device in Afghanistan in August. So what I would like to do is take this little thing and bring it to her bedside later this week, and if there is anyone who deserves it, it is she. So thank you all very, very much.
In the hard news feature category, we begin with